The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Thank you, Rachel.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Cue the laugh. Insufferable, whiny brat, and that's why people are so annoyed.
We absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
Put another gay diverse woman in it. Make it more land.
It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful.
It's a solid 3 out of 10. It is a colossal disaster.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
You're kidding, right?
I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part.
Poor Zegler.
I'm a narcissist.
Well, at least she was honest this time.
Zegler's career now looking like it is seriously on life support.
Maybe Disney has learned their lesson, maybe not.
It's Hollywood, baby.
Rachel Zegler isn't just worried about her reputation anymore. According to explosive new leaks, she's terrified, privately fearing that the rumored second Simpsons parody could completely destroy her career.
To address the elephant in the room. I'm the hottest person in the world.
Insiders say that ever since whispers of a sequel started swirling behind the scenes, Rachel has been spiraling. Not publicly, not in interviews, but behind closed doors where sources claim the fear is so palpable, even her closest advisors are panicking.
Maybe she's been placed under some kind of a curse.
And all that will wake her is the kiss of a handsome...
I'm awake already!
Because if Snowwoke, the reimagining was brutal, the next episode, insiders say, could be catastrophic. According to sources close to the situation, Rachel believes the new parody won't just mock her performance as Snow White, it'll mock her public image, her off-screen meltdown, her reputation as the poster child for everything audiences are tired of, and she knows the stakes couldn't be higher.
Go back outside. Who are you? Care for an apple?
One insider put it chillingly, she thinks this next episode could finish her. No exaggeration. It's not just paranoia, it's based on what's already happened. The first parody didn't just cause backlash, it cemented Rachel's name in the cultural memory as a punchline, a cautionary tale. And now, the thought of the Simpsons sharpening their knives a second time? Sources say it's keeping her up at night. Behind the scenes, her team has allegedly ramped up emergency meetings, brainstorming strategies, desperately weighing if there's any way to kill the sequel, or at least soften the blow before it drops.
Okay, I'll take a green one.
No, take the red one.
But there's a cold, harsh reality looming over every frantic call. If the Simpsons are truly plotting a second strike, it's already too late to control the narrative. Rachel Zegler knows exactly what's at risk, and for the first time in her skyrocketing career, the biggest threat isn't box office numbers or bad headlines, it's laughter. Relentless, echoing, career-shaping laughter. The kind you don't come back from. The fear Rachel Zegler feels today didn't come out of nowhere. It's rooted in the wreckage left behind by Snowwoke, the reimagining, the first time the Simpsons turned their yellow-skinned scalpel toward her. And the fallout wasn't just brutal, it was transformational. Before that episode aired, Rachel still had defenders. Fans who argued she was just misunderstood. Industry insiders who called her bold, fresh, the future of modern fairy tales. But when the Simpsons dropped their parody, all of that goodwill evaporated in a flash of viral memes and TikTok edits.
It's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
It wasn't just the savage lines, the cartoon princess rewriting fairy tales mid-press junket, demanding applause for dismantling love stories, insisting she was not here to be loved, but to lead. It was the timing. It was the public exhaustion. It was the perfect storm of audiences who had been holding their tongue finally finding the right words, through laughter. Suddenly, Rachel wasn't just a talented young actress. She was a symbol of everything fans felt Hollywood had gotten wrong. The smugness, the lecturing, the rewriting of beloved stories without reverence for why they mattered. Memes exploded. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Even casual viewers, people who hadn't paid attention to the Snow White remake controversy, started laughing, nodding, and sharing the clips. And the worst part? It wasn't exaggerated. The satire worked because it felt true. And Rachel? She went silent. No funny rebuttals, no clever TikTok spins, no late-night interviews poking fun at herself, just silence. Which in a media firestorm doesn't read as strength, it reads as surrender. By the time the dust settled, the damage was clear.
Yeah, because there's nothing more effective than 19-year-olds educating the rest of the voting public while yelling, "Okay, boomer."
Rachel Zegler's image hadn't just taken a hit, it had been recoded in the public consciousness. From rising star to cultural cautionary tale. From Disney's next Golden Girl to Hollywood's latest warning sign, and now, with a second Simpsons episode allegedly looming over her, that same fear is crashing down even harder. Because the first time, Rachel could pretend it was bad luck. The second time, it will be legacy. Sources close to the situation say that when Rachel Zegler first caught wind of a potential second parody, she didn't just get nervous, she melted down. Allegedly, the panic that started after Snowwoke. The Reimagining era didn't end. It evolved. It deepened. It became something even insiders are describing as career crisis mode. According to multiple leaks, Rachel's team immediately scrambled into damage control the moment the whispers began. Frantic phone calls, emergency PR meetings, quiet outreach to Disney brass, alleged desperate conversations with Fox representatives. Anything, to try to get ahead of what insiders claim Rachel now sees as the biggest threat to her future in Hollywood. Because Rachel isn't just fearing another round of jokes. She's fearing total reputation collapse. Insiders say she allegedly begged her inner circle to find ways to kill the sequel, or at the very least soften it. Pressure Disney to lean on Fox. Threaten legal action under defamation claims. Anything that might scare the Simpsons writers into backing off.
I cannot do it! Run, lassie! Find wee little men and hide with them!
But here's the brutal truth the insiders say Rachel couldn't face. There's no stopping satire, especially not when the subject is already a national meme. Behind closed doors, the conversations allegedly turned desperate. Could she issue a heartfelt statement to the fans? Could she book a major interview to reclaim the narrative? Could she quietly donate to a charity and hope to drown out the laughter with goodwill headlines? One source put it plainly. Rachel knows she can survive a box office bomb. She can survive a bad review. What she can't survive is becoming the joke itself. And that's exactly what she's staring down. Because if The Simpsons really do follow through, if they unleash a second episode centered not just on Snow White, but on Rachel's own behind-the-scenes panic, then it's not just her movie career at risk. It's her entire brand, her public image, her place in the Hollywood system that doesn't forgive becoming the punchline. And insiders say Rachel knows it. Every sleepless night, every frantic phone call, every silent, unanswered DM. It's all rooted in one chilling fear. This time, they might not just parody her, they might erase her. If the first parody bruised Rachel Zegler's image, insiders say the second could break it. And not just for a news cycle, not for a few rough headlines, but for good. Because the brutal reality of pop culture is simple. Once a punchline sticks, it hardens into legend. It becomes the version of you the public remembers long after the projects fade, the interviews blur, and the apologies get buried. And according to whispers from industry insiders, the next Simpsons parody isn't just targeting Rachel's portrayal of Snow White, it's allegedly setting its sights on something much more dangerous. Her reaction.
They've put it all on her. Now they've failed. Here's what happened. She made the cardinal error of saying free Palestine on Twitter. So she could say all that men are bad and it's this and that, but once you do that, now they've put the entire weight of the failure upon her.
Sources say writers aren't just planning to roast Snowwoke's feminist monologues or the disastrous press interviews anymore. They're reportedly scripting jokes about the panic, about the behind-the-scenes scrambling, about the frantic, allegedly desperate attempts to erase satire after it already went viral. And if that happens, Rachel won't just be the face of a bad remake. She'll become the face of celebrity fragility in the age of internet mockery. That's the nightmare insiders claim she's wrestling with, because in Hollywood, you can survive bad movies. You can survive awkward interviews. Heck, you can even survive a few months of backlash if you play it right. But once the audience sees you as the punchline, once you become a walking, talking cautionary tale, you don't get clean slates anymore. You get typecast. You get quietly dropped from shortlists. You get frozen out without anyone needing to say it out loud. And the fact that The Simpsons are allegedly sharpening their knives specifically for her reaction, not just her role, makes it even more devastating. Because it won't just mock what she said, it'll mock who she became under pressure. One insider close to a major studio put it chillingly: if they hit her again, it'll be like sealing a time capsule. Rachel won't be remembered for West Side Story or even for Snow White. She'll be remembered for this. And in an industry where perception is the product, not just the performance, that kind of branding doesn't fade, it defines. Just when Rachel Zegler thought the worst was behind her, another blow landed, and it wasn't from The Simpsons. It was South Park. In their latest episode, the legendary animated show took direct aim at Disney's Snow White disaster, and Rachel by extension.
That she believes that she should be able to express herself and speak her truth, or whatever nonsense, regardless of the consequences to everybody else.
And if The Simpsons had roasted her with surgical precision, South Park came in swinging a sledgehammer. No filters, no softening, just pure, savage mockery. Insiders say the South Park episode hit like a punch to the gut behind the scenes. The jokes weren't just about Disney's woke rewriting of classic fairy tales. They zeroed in on the vibe that audiences had already been frustrated with for months. The fake movie inside the episode, Woke White, the reinvention, was a brutal mirror. Every character swapped out, every storyline drained of charm, and a town slowly watching their favorite stories rot under the weight of political posturing. And the digs didn't stop at Disney's door. They slammed Snow White herself, the new version portrayed as preachy, smug, joyless. Sound familiar? Rachel's silence only made the jokes land harder. Reaction channels exploded again. TikTok stitched South Park clips with Snowwoke scenes. Comment sections weren't divided, they were gleeful. South Park said what we're all thinking became the new rallying cry, and worst of all for Rachel, the timing couldn't have been more brutal, because now when the Simpsons sequel drops, as insiders insist it's being plotted, the audience will already be primed, already laughing, already waiting for the next round of mockery. South Park didn't just roast Rachel, they softened the ground for the next nuclear strike. One Hollywood PR insider reportedly put it like this: "The worst thing that can happen to a celebrity in crisis isn't one satire show targeting them, it's two. And it's even worse when the second one hasn't aired yet, because the anticipation builds and the damage gets preloaded before the first frame hits the screen." Rachel Zegler isn't just worried about surviving another parody, she's watching an avalanche start at the top of the mountain, and she knows if it picks up momentum, there won't be anything left standing at the bottom. While Rachel Zegler scrambles behind closed doors, Hollywood insiders are already making their moves, and the conversations aren't pretty. Across agencies, studios, and PR firms, the whispers are growing louder. Rachel is no longer seen as a misunderstood young star. She's becoming what every executive fears the most: a brand liability. Insiders say that after the South Park humiliation and rumors of a second Simpsons strike,
studios really need to go back to what they originally did, which was tell your stars to shut up and not say things, because no one is paying to hear your star say offensive things off the screen.
some casting directors are already pulling her name off future shortlists. Quietly, discreetly, but decisively. One Netflix producer allegedly summed it up with brutal clarity. She's not trending because of her talent. She's trending because she can't get out of her own way, and no studio wants to be next. The risk isn't just backlash, it's cultural permanence. It's the nightmare every brand manager dreads, that Rachel Zegler's public image will fossilize into the definitive Hollywood cautionary tale of the decade. Sources close to several major talent agencies report that her case is already being used in media training sessions. One leaked internal deck even featured a slide titled The Zegler Zone, a blunt warning that modern celebrities can't afford to alienate their fan bases with smugness, defensiveness, and most dangerous of all, silence in the face of satire. Because if the second Simpsons parody lands, and insiders say it's not a question of if, but when, Rachel's name won't just be synonymous with a failed Snow White reboot. It'll stand for something bigger, something career-ending. The actress who couldn't survive being laughed at. Hollywood, for all its flaws, runs on one brutal law: the audience always wins. No matter how big the budget, no matter how pretty the press tour, if the public stops believing in you, it doesn't matter how many zeros are on the contract. And right now, insiders say Rachel Zegler is walking into the most dangerous territory a star can face. Not hatred, not controversy, irrelevance. Because once a meme defines you, it replaces you. And unless Rachel pulls off a miracle, and fast, the next time her name flashes across a studio executive's desk, it won't spark excitement, it'll spark fear. A time when even a half-hearted joke could have softened the blow. Rachel Zegler's silence is doing the opposite. It's pouring concrete around the narrative, hardening it with every passing day.
What can be said about this level of narcissism? Here, please, enjoy.
Insiders say the longer she refuses to speak, the more her fear becomes the story, and the worse the fallout is getting. Because in Hollywood, silence isn't neutral, it's an answer. Rachel's team reportedly debated several options after. The South Park episode exploded online. They considered a lighthearted TikTok, a winking Instagram post, maybe even a carefully worded late-night appearance where Rachel could laugh at herself and take some power back. But every idea got stuck in the same loop. What if it backfires? What if it makes things worse? and so they did nothing. But the problem is, the internet doesn't wait. Memes don't pause. The jokes don't die down because you refuse to engage. If anything, the silence gives them more oxygen. Audiences are starting to read Rachel's refusal to respond not as dignity, but as proof. Proof that the parodies hit too close to home. Proof that the "I'm here to lead, not be loved" energy wasn't just an awkward soundbite, it's who she really is. Detached, defensive, unreachable. One Hollywood PR strategist allegedly put it this way: every day she stays silent, it's like she's agreeing with the meme version of herself. She's letting the parody become her real-world identity. And now, with a second Simpsons episode rumored to be on the way, Rachel's silence isn't just hurting her brand, it's making her an even bigger target. Because satire doesn't just mock behavior, it mocks patterns. And Rachel's pattern right now is simple: panic behind the scenes, silence in public, collapse in perception. If she keeps playing defense by disappearing, insiders warn she won't just lose control of this moment, she'll lose control of her image, possibly for good. Because in today's culture, silence isn't strength, it's surrender. And every day Rachel stays quiet, the world keeps laughing louder. If the rumors leaking out of Fox's animation studio are even halfway true, the second Simpsons parody isn't going to pull punches. It's going to swing for Rachel Zegler's public image, and according to insiders, they're allegedly aiming to make it even harsher than Snowwoke, the Reimagining.
That's one interview clip that you read the quote from, but she's gone on to talk about this film numerous times, how she once thought Snow White was creepy, she doesn't like the prince, she thinks she should get paid more because she has to wear that dress, she should get paid for streaming, for every hour she has to wear the dress. I mean, talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
So what could they actually show? Sources close to the writer's room claim the new episode might open with a parody princess, not bravely facing her critics, but desperately trying to cancel satire itself. Imagine it, a cartoon version of Rachel bursting into Krusty the Clown's show, waving a fake cease and desist order, demanding that every joke about her be erased because it's emotionally damaging to leadership narratives. Another leaked idea? A full-blown parody of Rachel launching her own fairy tale remake studio, where every movie is remade by removing joy, romance, and anything audiences once loved, rebranded as liberation storytelling. The punchline? Audiences flee the theaters, and the princess demands government subsidies to keep her kingdom open because it's not about entertainment, it's about education. And it doesn't stop there. Some writers allegedly want to weave in jokes about Rachel's silence itself, depicting the parody princess as someone who refuses to speak directly to her people, instead communicating only through endless second-hand statements, passive-aggressive scrolls, and staged PR moments that audiences can see right through. If even a fraction of these savage ideas make it into the final cut, insiders say the impact could be devastating, because this time, it won't just be about mocking the character Rachel played. It'll be about mocking the character the public believes she really is now. Defensive, unreachable, humorless, and here's the coldest part. Audiences are ready for it, primed by South Park, disillusioned by Disney, exhausted by the endless cycle of celebrity arrogance being paraded as empowerment. If The Simpsons' second parody hits screens with these angles sharpened and firing, it won't feel like an unfair attack. It will feel like the culture finally speaking back. And Rachel Zegler, insiders say, won't just be facing another rough news cycle, she'll be facing pop culture canonization, not as a starlet or a princess, but as a living, breathing warning. At the start of this mess, there were still some people rooting for Rachel Zegler, fans who believed she was just young, inexperienced, maybe a little clumsy with her words, people who thought she could weather the storm, laugh it off, and emerge stronger. But that window, it's gone. Today, insiders say the mood has shifted completely. The audience isn't holding its breath waiting for Rachel to redeem herself. They're waiting to see how hard The Simpsons and South Park can roast her next. And they're rooting for the parody to win. Because for so many fans, critics, and casual viewers, Rachel stopped feeling like the underdog months ago. She stopped feeling relatable. She stopped feeling accessible. Somewhere between the smug press interviews, the dismissive attitude toward classic stories, and the deafening silence after being roasted, Rachel stopped being someone people wanted to root for and became someone people felt exhausted by.
Because you just can't close your mouth. You just can't be sane, even when you do open your mouth. I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film, but rather, she deserves to be in a padded cell.
The jokes about leadership narratives instead of love stories, they hit because people felt them. The mockery of rewriting fairy tales until they're joyless lectures, it stung because it mirrored what audiences have been quietly fuming about for years. The depiction of a detached, self-serious princess trying to reframe every failure as progress, it worked because it didn't feel like fantasy. It felt like fact. And now Rachel isn't just facing satire. She's facing a cultural shift where audiences are hungry for the old magic again. They're tired of being talked down to. They're tired of reboots that feel more like lectures than escapism. They're tired of stars who seem to think they're better than the stories they're supposed to bring to life. And Rachel, fairly or unfairly, has become the face of that frustration. That's why insiders say the second parody isn't just highly anticipated. It's seen as necessary. Not cruel, not bullying, but catharsis. The audience isn't rooting for Rachel to fall because they enjoy watching careers implode. They're rooting for the parody because it feels like someone, finally, is listening to them, laughing with them. And in Hollywood, when the laughter isn't on your side anymore, you're already losing. Rachel Zegler's story isn't finished, but with every passing day, insiders say she's running out of moves and out of time. Because in Hollywood, the window for redemption is small, and once it closes, it doesn't quietly lock behind you. It slams. Right now, Rachel is standing at the edge of that closing window. A second Simpsons parody looming. A cultural mood that's already shifted. A public that isn't just skeptical. They're ready to laugh at her again, louder than ever. And if she stays silent, if she hides, if she pretends none of this is happening, the memes will outlive the silence. The jokes will outlast the spin. And Rachel's career could freeze exactly where it is right now, trapped inside a parody she never controlled. But here's the thing. The wild, unpredictable thing Hollywood always leaves on the table. There's still a way out. There's always a way out. Not through another polished press tour. Not through another apology engineered by PR consultants. Through humility. Through humor. Through the raw, simple act of showing that she gets it. If Rachel Zegler stood up tomorrow, laughed at herself, admitted the panic, embraced the parody, and gave the audience permission to laugh with her instead of at her, she wouldn't just survive this moment. She could own it, flip it, reclaim a future that right now looks terrifyingly fragile. Because audiences are harsh, but they're also shockingly forgiving. They don't need perfection. They don't need lectures. They just need stars to be human again. But if Rachel keeps waiting, keeps hiding, keeps hoping the laughter dies down on its own, then the next Simpsons parody won't just hurt. It'll canonize her downfall. One joke, one meme, one savage scene at a time. And this fairy tale won't have a comeback story. It'll have a cautionary ending. So what do you think? Is Rachel Zegler already too far gone? Or could a single moment of humility still flip her entire future? Did The Simpsons go too far? Or are they simply reflecting everything the audience has been feeling for months? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you think Hollywood needs to start respecting its stories and its audiences again. And don't forget to subscribe for more no-fluff deep dives into the moments that shape pop culture behind the scenes. And when you're ready to hear what Hollywood really doesn't want you to know next, the next video is already waiting for you.